You're listening to Real Estate and Bourbon. Whether you like it neat or on the rocks, you're in the right place. And now your host, Dawn Roy.
Welcome to Real Estate and Bourbon, where we talk about juicy insider real estate stories and drink mighty fine bourbon. This is episode 11, and boo, there ain't no bubble. That's what we're talking about. There ain't no bubble.
There's bubble gum.
There's the bubble. When I was a little girl, you remember the little, you'd go to birthday parties and get the little jar with the little soapy soap. God,
is that what you think of when you think of a bubble?
I do.
I think of a double bubble.
Like gum. You're a gum chewer, though. I'm not.
Yeah.
I
certainly don't think of a real estate bubble, whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
Is that what we're chatting about today?
I think we're talking about that because how many times, raise your hand if you've been asked this last 2 years by a client or anybody, when is the housing crash going to happen? Can I get an amen?
Susan, were you in the real estate career at that time when?
2008?
Yeah.
I was not. I bought in 2008. Mm-hmm. I got my real estate license in 2009.
Yeah, I got mine 20.
Was that when you were doing that where people were like, you crazy?
No, because we didn't know.
Well, that's just what the market was.
Right. I mean, it wasn't 2006. Right. So it was still different.
Yeah.
Speaking of, no, in fact, they didn't think we were crazy. You know what our interest rate was when we bought in 2008?
What was it?
6.5%.
Which is what it is now.
But the houses were a little bit. The houses were cheaper, right?
Well, of course. I mean, it's all relative, right? It's you're talking
like $100,000, about $100,000 cheaper. If you were looking at a today's date house.
I don't know that you can compare those because I think for the market, the house was priced appropriately.
Right.
For
that time frame.
Yeah. I mean, you look at 15 years ago and you think, okay, what was our financial status during that time versus.
That picture I sent you guys was eye-opening for me.
What? Yeah. What the real estate market back in the 50s?
Yeah, and what the payments were on and buying a house.
Yeah.
And all that.
I remember my parents, I think their first home literally was like $14,000 or $15,000 in the 50s or early 60s. This was before I was born. And they thought they were going to die.
Sure.
Trying to make a $40 a month.
Well, I don't think it's all
it was
relative,
huge.
Right?
Right. And then they used to drive through other neighborhoods on Sundays after church and see houses that were $30,000, and they will never, ever be able to have a house that expensive. I mean, really, you think my first home was in the early 90s, and it was $81,000. My kid, my oldest son.
What was your monthly payment?
It was 8.5% interest. So $91,000 is during Bill Clinton, right? His first term. It was $91,000.
He did not have sex with that woman.
He did not.
Keep going.
That's why I love you. Because of the inappropriateness of your.
This is Susan, right? You're driving along. She's in the driver's seat. And she says, Taco Bell. Taco Bell! Grabs the wheel and goes the other direction.
Up. Hiller. Do you not know who we're... Yes. It is tacos.
It's curveball.
We could be going to a funeral procession, Taco Bell. Did somebody say tacos?
My point is she doesn't say anything. She grabs a sirloin.
And off we go.
Yeah.
Off we go. But at the time, it was 8.5% at $91,000, and we thought that was huge. And it was probably a $900 and some odd house payment,
So that was your first
very first home. My son, fast forward to 2020, and his first home was in Brander Mill for $250,000, but he got 3% interest rate. So for another $300 or $400, you know what I mean? It's all relative, So, but he was earning more now. He earns more now at his age than we did in the early 90s at our age.
Yeah, so that brings
it's
up
all relative.
A really interesting point because people freak the fuck.
Put a quarter out.
I got 50 cent because I said the F word.
Yeah, 50 cent.
50 cent that time.
50 wants to be $1 cent now.
Yeah.
I think that's what he wants.
Yeah, did you see him at the Super Bowl?
No.
He needs to lay off the.
Whatever he's doing.
Yeah,
he needs
I
to
thought
slow
he was
down.
gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah.
Hanging him upside down. Anyway, so this is what real estate does, right? I mean, it goes right. It
and
never
down.
stays constant.
No.
So stop acting crazy. Stop. They're.
Yeah, but the media jazzes people up,
Well-
and uninformed professionals in our profession buy into it too. They don't educate themselves. I don't think. I mean,
agree.
I am a nerd. I read finance articles. I'm constantly,
I was going to say, this is your jam because it's all about.
my first thing in the
Numbers.
morning is Yahoo Finance. That's how,
I'm writing in my gratitude journal. Like,
she's writing a gratitude journal, and I'm reading Yahoo Finance.
so do you think, so one of the investment properties we just bought
Right.
was built in 1970.
Okay.
So when I went back through the tax records, because I love to do that just for fun,
Yeah.
like to see. So they paid $54,000 for it,
When they built it,
right?
which at the time, that's heady. That's a big money then.
So now it was $575.
Yeah.
Do you think that they, even for a second, imagined that little beach box, 950 square feet, would ever
No.
sell for that?
No.
No.
No, people don't know.
So basically, calm down, because real estate continues to grow no
Right.
matter what. No matter it. At some point, the interest rates were 18%, and people were still buying
They're
houses.
still buying houses. Yeah.
Well, they didn't know. They didn't know
that was their reality.
right.
That was their truth, right?
Right.
When my parents used to complain about that, they used to talk about that, was like, is that transition between Reagan and Carter, that three, like at the end of Carter's administration and into Reagan's, it got up as high as 21%.
What?
I mean, that's how crazy it
Yeah.
got. Oh, yeah. And so I remember going to closings in the last 3 to 5 years with young people who are getting a 2.9 or 3.1 interest rate on their mortgage. And they're like, is this good?
Here's the thing.
I'm like, of course. What is your car payment interest rate? But they don't know what they don't know, right? To them, this is all they know. And unfortunately, we now have we have this whole group of people who literally, they're so used to low rates. The idea of what the Feds raised it to 6.59 on Friday.
Yep.
They're losing their mind.
But you can't sustain a 3% interest rate.
You can't.
And just on the flip side of that, piece of plywood used to be
Oh dear Lord.
$44 and I paid $90.
Right.
So it's not just real estate. It's everything.
Right.
So take a minute,
Yes.
educate yourself,
Right.
calm down,
Right.
breathe.
A little bit.
It's going to be okay.
Well, and two, I think the difference, and I've had everybody from my contractors to clients say, or when is the crash? I said, this is the thing. When anything is in demand, there's always going to be people willing to pay premium dollar for it. So we still, even now, the high interest rates have a huge demand for real estate, for homes, and we have no inventory. We still are at a month's worth, if best. 6 months gives balance power to both buyer and seller, right? But this is a great, this in Yahoo, I got to read this to you because this took me by surprise even this morning as I was flipping through here at 4:30 this morning. I know. The dog is even going, what? She's laying with her little belly in the air and I'm going, let's get up and go for a walk. And she's like,
No.
At
You
4:30 in the morning?
yeah.
you go for a walk.
Yeah,
I'll see you when you get back.
I love getting up that early. It's just, it tickles me pink. So here is something that you need to think about. 99% of all outstanding mortgages are locked in to a rate that's lower than the current market rate. So that means a majority of the mortgages are at a lower rate than what we're currently experiencing on anybody who's trying to buy now. What that means is they're not at an adjustable rate. They're not at a God. Do you remember in the hot 08s and 07, they were pushing zero interest. I mean, not zero interest, interest only.
Interest only, yeah.
That is the reason we had. So that was a financial crisis. We're in an inventory crisis. That's two distinctly different things. So and by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but Richmond is one of the markets that is not losing value in our home prices. We're staying steady and or increasing. We're a very competitive market, and I think because a lot of it has to do with our proximity to big cities, I think it's also we have a tremendous job market here. I mean, a tremendous
We are
job market.
also the 6th largest pickleball
I think one of the top
fanatics in.
I've got friends who buy
I
into
had
that.
no idea where you were going to go there. I'm like,
Yeah,
pickleball?
I've got friends who are into, and per capita, we're one of the biggest areas for tattoos, tattoo parlors.
What?
We also, Richmond has more grocery stores per capita than any city in the United States.
Let's get a tattoo together.
I can't.
Just a little something.
I can't. I promise my
What
husband I
about
wouldn't.
what happens if it's like one that lasts for like a month?
We'll get a little,
Oh, yeah,
henna. We'll do a little henna tattoo.
little temporary tattoo?
Yeah, like you get little girls get when they go to the fair.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
but
that'd be
this
good.
is an amazing. The reason we have such an influx too of people coming from out of state, whether it be the Northeast, California, Texas, all these other places, is because we have a tremendous job market. A lot of grandparents follow kids who go into IT at Capital One and these other. We've got Sabra and Amazon. I mean,
Isn't
think
there-
And
about it.
Lego.
And Lego. Oh my God! Is that going to be cool?
Wait, what?
The
Legos?
what?
Legos is coming.
We got the big
Where?
Lego store. They're
Where?
it's going
The
to be
big
like
Lego
a giant
warehouse.
Yeah.
Where?
Or manufacturing.
Where?
Here. I'm not sure of the address.
I don't know exactly where,
Please
but it's
let
here.
it be in Amelia, because stop the building around here. Come on.
Stop
Chesterfield, I think.
Yeah, I think it is in our county. I'm telling you, we have got so many
Who is the
opportunities.
guy that's approving all these? Like Westchester now is building all the things, and like over here, and like who's
people
that?
on the board who
Yeah,
have
like-
tie-in to land developers who are greasing the skids. I said what I said.
It's
And
crazy.
And I ain't scared about it. So
She ain't scared about it.
why isn't anyone, though, bringing up this fact,
What is that?
if I may? There have been people in the past 2 years that have been paying $150,000 over asking price
Oh my gosh.
for a house, and now they're all banana up in arms that we've had a 3% increase
In rate.
in rate.
Because to them,
Riddle me that.
Well, I
Explain
think
it to me, Lucy. Explain it to me, Ricky.
I think to them, they see that money at 3%. Money's cheap, right? It's cheap money because by the time you take your write-off on taxes, you really it's not you're not really paying a whole lot for it. But it's really the same thing. It's the same story. It's just packaged differently. So I'm either going to pay $100,000 or $150,000 over list, but I'm grateful for that, and I get to do it at 3%, or I'm paying for a less expensive house at a high. It's the same dynamic
It's the same.
thing.
It's just
Packaged
different.
the way it's just packaged
like-
where they can understand it, right? It's
Well,
packaged
it's like
in a pleasant
paying.
way.
It's like paying with a card and then paying with the cash.
It's more painful with cash,
more painful with cash.
and you will spend more if you use a credit card, which is what they've been doing for 2 years. They had a 3% credit card, and they went nuts.
They got lucky. If you got a 3% or less interest rate, you got lucky. And I will say I'm one of those people.
Me too. Count me in. I'm one of those folks.
But I have been on the other side of that too.
Well, like I said, my first house was 8.5%, and when I got divorced, I had to refinance the house into my name, and at the time in 2018, it was almost 4.75. The horror. And so as soon as it started to drop, I refinanced, and I have like a 2.9 or a 3%.
Hey, Dawn, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Is the interest rate ever going to drop again? I think
Well,
the answer's.
Let me hold on. Let me get my crystal ball.
Let me get my 8 ball. The answer's yes.
It's cyclical. It's cyclical, just like the stock market.
Yeah.
It's all cyclical. Mm-hmm. You know, and I've got an older
Like I
client.
said, calm the fuck down.
I love that. We are going to be sending some good money to a dog rescue not too far off from now if we keep this going on. I've got an older client, God love her. She's in her 70s. She lives in Waynesboro, and she talks about how badly her portfolio is, you know, how much money she's losing. I said, boo-boo, you only are going to lose if you cash it. And you don't need it right now. Even though she's in her early 70s, she still doesn't she doesn't have to do anything with it. And we're not
It's
talking
gonna
about
come back.
required distributions from some 401k or a IRA. You know, she's not doing that. It's just it's a stock portfolio that she has. You lose when you sell. I have a stock portfolio. I'm not touching it. I'm buying. I'm buying stock. I continue to buy stock in things that I like and believe in, and, you know, like through my company, you know, EXP has stock, and I still buy it, even though it's in the toilet from what it was 2 years ago, because I know what.
You know whose stock is not in the toilet?
Susan Morris, because she's got beach boxes, and if you want to
Open
know,
Gate Realty Group.
and if you want to go to an awesome Airbnb, but you know what I'm saying.
I do.
I'll do one of your Airbnbs.
Yeah,
Yeah. Third one on its way right now.
it's so
Closes on
exciting.
10/10.
I want to be her when I grow up. So in 2023, my goal is to do that.
Do you think that's the new
Financial management
like
or
lane
security?
that's not being saturated, or do you think
I think it's always been there.
It's
I
always been
think that it's, you know, we should talk about that one day. I think that it's always been there. I think that, you know, there have been people forever that have owned rental properties. It's just that most of the rental properties, in my opinion, have been long-term rentals. So when they buy it, you know, they're thinking about, it's
just putting
just
a
putting a
12-month
tenant in it for
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, with how the media is, or social media and the app and things that makes it like, you know, Uber and Lyft
Right.
and all that, there's things that wouldn't have been available to us to gain profit on
before.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think
you know?
at the beach, which is where ours were, they were going through
Property management.
Yeah, property management,
Yeah.
which could take anywhere from 17 to 27%.
Or then
of
also
your-
timeshares. People would just do timeshares and think that
Yeah.
that's a good idea, which
Yeah.
that's a terrible idea.
That's a terrible idea.
Oh, it is. It is. And I remember when Airbnb came out, and I thought, sharing your house? What does that mean? I even thought DoorDash was bonkers before COVID. I was like, I can go pick up my own pizza. Why would I have? And then
I think it's what's your time worth. Like I haven't set foot in a grocery store in I don't know how long because I Instacart everything.
yeah, right.
I'm always afraid that they're just going to give you not the great pickings, like with the
Actually,
fruit
I think
and
they
stuff
do
like
very
that,
well.
You know,
I've had very good experiences. I think they do well on picking out produce. I think they, you know, there's some things, and they will tell you we've had to substitute or whatever, and then you can either accept or decline.
Yeah.
I think it's.
I wish you could pick the same person. Like if you know that person's good,
Yeah.
you're like, hey, Joe.
But that would be nice. I want my personal shopper to come in. But I mean, I think that all of these, what you're alluding to, and I think is a great reason why these are other avenues for people to explore for financial stability, other than the stock market and stuff, is instead of a long-term rental concept, kind of think about, because I've got folks here in the Richmond area who are thinking, well, when my tenant lease is up, I'm going to change that into a short-term rent or a travel nurse 30-day, something that just has a higher, you know, financial volume than what you would get. You know, so instead of $1,500 a month on a 3 and 2, they're going to make $3,000 as a 30-day travel nurse type of property, or even more than that, depending how you market it. And I have to say though, Susan, it's not all of it's not equal. If I go and look through different Airbnbs, sometimes I'm like, it's like going through the MLS.
Oh, sure,
It's like, please,
absolutely.
dear Jesus, go hire a photographer for $250 and take good
Absolutely.
photography.
Yeah.
Go make your home look bright. Turn the lights on before you take your pictures.
Yeah.
Just, and I don't want to see a picture of you in the bathroom mirror.
Well, I think it's
To me, that just screams,
all
I don't
a-
really know what I'm doing.
it's
and I
all a
don't
beauty
want,
contest, right?
It is a beauty contest.
And
And you're winning, my friend.
well, we have the other thing is our reviews, right? I
Yeah.
think we looked the other day, 175 5-star reviews means a lot if my price is a little bit higher than someone else's, but my ratings are good.
Yeah. And that's how if you're
Right?
coming to an area you don't know,
Yeah.
that's the only way, whether it be Yelp or whatever, that's the only way am I spending my money in the right place? Because it's awful to get there and go, oh,
Yeah.
snap.
Yeah.
This one wasn't.
And people love to give bad reviews.
They're
So-
looking for an opportunity. They really are.
Yeah. We got one not 5-star, and it was because they said the grill was dirty. It probably was. Which is why there's cleaner and a brush there. So get after it.
I mean, there's certain things that you're just going to be, okay. I mean, everything else was clean, but the grill?
My grill at home's dirty. Every time I use it, I have to scrub it.
Right.
No one forced them to use it.
No.
But I
Why
do
aren't
think-
you eating out anyway? You're on vacation.
Yeah. DoorDash is your friend. But I mean, that's the thing. People are truly looking for an opportunity to say something negative. I mean, I almost think there's people who they get like there's an endorphin that rushes into their noggin.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
To have an opportunity to be ugly. And so for you to have as many 5-star, if you get one, I have had once in a blue moon, I'll get like a 4-star on Google or whatever. And the reason is not because I did anything. They just don't ever give 5 stars to anything. No one's perfect.
What?
I'm like, that's nice. Okay, Karen.
And Todd.
I mean,
And Todd.
I won't write a review. I just won't go to the restaurant again.
Well, and I do that too. I'm not confrontational enough that I'm gonna, blast unless it's just something just so egregious. But typically if it's poor service or the food wasn't up to par, I'm gonna walk with my dollars. I'm just not going to come back. And
Yeah.
you'll see it won't be just you. You'll see those restaurants struggling or whoever, and because you'll see their parking lot has a few people, and whereas other restaurants you have to go and you're going to have to make a reservation or you're going to have to wait.
Well, and there's always going to be one, right? There's always going to be that one jackass that's, It's like when I read a review online, it has nothing to do with the product, but their package came
There was
busted.
a crinkle in the
You're
cardboard.
like-
I've seen that so many times on Amazon, and I totally just
It's
and
a
they'll go, "Was this
package."
helpful?" No, it was not helpful. My son and I make him date me. That's a whole different story. But I make him date me once a month. We go out to a bar together.
Well, I want to hear. You need to expand on this because
So once a month,
Don't
my
leave that.
28-year-old son, who I adore and is just the most wonderful person to be with, he and I go out once a month to a restaurant or a bar together. And it's
Okay.
just him and I, and we just talk adult stuff. How's work? He's getting married next year. Just stuff. So I mean, he's the best date ever.
Oh, yeah.
I can't do that with my mother because my mother is the. You just don't mess with her.
Yeah.
And her expectation at restaurants is like if
Too high?
she was cooking. She one time went to the back with the steak in hand to the back and
To the
said
chef.
and would you like me to show you how to do this?
Oh,
Okay.
sweet. Yeah. Do you
I don't know if I
remember
wanna go with
when
that.
Harry Met Sally?
Yes.
Yeah.
That movie, and she's like, "I want the apple pie, but I want it warm. But I only want it warmed if you like." That's
The
my
ice cream.
mom.
It's got to be real ice cream.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
That's my mom.
I'm not like that, and I don't. And Aaron isn't either. And we actually went to a wonderful place that has great food, and they have a super happy hour. So it was pouring, and when I say pouring, it was like torrential pouring. So we're like running from the car, get in there, go to the bar, and the only space at the bar left are 2 high tops. So we sit at one of the high tops, and we noticed that it was coming down so hard that one of their big windows there in the bar area was leaking through the seal. And, they didn't, it was a mystery to them. They were bringing towels. They were really very quick to jump on it. And so we just kind of sat at the away from the window, kind of facing the window so we didn't get splashed on. This other guy and his son come in, and they kind of positioned themselves too close to that window, and I just knew what was going to happen. So we have a little appetizer, we have a couple of drinks, we're talking about life. This guy, gets his check, and he says, I need to speak to a manager. And I told my son, I said, he's getting ready to shake him down. Watch it. Here it comes. He's getting ready. I've been in customer service long enough. This motherfucker, let's just, motherfucker is getting ready to shake this restaurant down over something they can't control. Because sometimes until something occurs, you don't really know there's a boo-boo, right? And he does. He goes, there was nothing wrong with the food. There was nothing wrong with the service. But that window ruined their experience. Now, mind you, he didn't have to sit there. There was space.
And he saw it when he walked in.
He saw it when he walked in. And he decided to sit in the seats positioned closer to the window as opposed away from the window. So it was one of those elongated high tops. So you could sit, in the two chairs near the window, or you could sit away from it.
Well, it's like, when your waitress sits you in an area that's noisy and it's just you and your significant other, and you're like, no, this is not, I can't.
I don't want to spend my money
and so
shouting.
They're not thinking
that
your scenario. They're just placing you because that's what they've been told
There's
to
an
do.
open table.
There's an open
table. They tell you to fill this area because this is where and it's like, no. If I'm paying, I'm going to sit when I want to sit.
We always laugh because...
no, people don't speak up in a proper way.
And then they get angry when their
get
experience then is compromised.
Yeah.
We always laugh because we always get sat basically in the kitchen. It never
Mine's the
fails.
bathroom, near the bathroom.
I think I'd rather be in the kitchen.
Yeah, I'm not all about that.
You know what, though? It brings it full circle to this.
What?
Do your own research, educate yourself, and don't listen to the hype, because that's what media does. They want to create a doomsday, sky is falling.
Right.
It gets more buzz than good news.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Absolutely. And don't, I agree. Don't listen to the talking heads in the news media. I mean, I'm more of a reader. I don't listen to news at all. I go and I find the source, I read, and I go find the papers or the white papers that back up something or doesn't, I want to know from the people who are in the industry. Like I call my lenders. I'll call my lender partners and go, what are you hearing on your level? What are you guys hearing and what sources is it coming from? And I have to say, not only should the general buying and selling public not listen to the hype on the news, but also be careful of, I think as in real estate, we need to educate ourselves. And I think realtors, that needs to be your number one mission, is to have the correct information so that you can kind of be that calming voice in the community. And do I have a crystal ball? No, I have beautiful amber bottles of bourbon. By the way, we didn't mention this one. This is a Chattanooga whiskey. I got this when I was in Knoxville at an SEC football game. And it's lovely. It's a single barrel. I have to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever it's like my mother used to say, she's never had a bad cookie.
All right, so
I've never had a bad bottle of bourbon.
So I got a live scenario right here.
Do it.
So I texted this agent and asked them about a property that was rescheduled and last night, and said that my photographer will be there at X amount of time, or what time it was. And so she says thank you, and then I said, oh, by the way, she can go either earlier between, if she wants to go earlier in the day, and she says either way. I said, oh, what's the code? No code. She texts me at 7 a.m. or not, or whatever time it was. And so the photographer goes out. I was trying to go out there, and she's texting me asking me, hey, what's the code? She doesn't want to drive out there not knowing
how to get in the
house, And so the agent just texted me now, has a house manager just knocked. Now, why wouldn't she say that when she said no code?
That's on a need to know basis, and you needed to know.
We're talking 4 or 5 hours prior,
And that's why
Find a new job.
We drink.
So that's
There you go, friends. It's the source of the information that matters, not the information itself. I'm telling you, get your information from the right source, not from your Facebook friends. Man, you want to talk about a hot freaking mess.
It would be better to ask a 14-year-old boy, middle school boy.
What is his financial plan?
Right.
And what I should do with my financial plan.
Right. Ask him. Maybe we should have him on here.
We should.
That
It will
would-
make a lot more sense than that nonsense your Facebook friends don't know.
Right.
And that's all I'm saying. So thank you for joining us, my friends. As always, it's
Thanks
all
for
about
having us.
having
Us. I'm gonna have a worm in my pocket. Thanks for having me. Me and my bottled water. I don't know why I said that. Thanks for having us.
and you didn't even sip any of the bourbon.
No.
oh, did we didn't talk about which one this one
Yeah,
is today.
I mentioned it just a few minutes ago.
Oh, did you?
It's a single barrel. Actually, I bought this in a Total Wine in Chattanooga, in actually Knoxville. You can't obviously in Virginia get booze in a Total Wine, but it was hand selected and it's a single barrel for that particular Total Wine. So lovely, and it's, as you can see, I have sipped on it a tad. But that being said, we want to thank you. If you're getting information, get it from the right source. And if you have any doubts, talk to a local lender. Talk to someone who's reading not the newscasts, but who's reading the pages that really make all the difference and what you need to do. Talk to your financial planner.
Oh, that's a good one.
There you go. We love you. Follow, like,
Thanks, guys.
subscribe. Yes.
It was fun.
Another one in the books.
You've been listening to the Real Estate and Bourbon podcast hosted by Dawn Roy. Have real estate or bourbon questions or a juicy story you want us to talk about? Call our hotline at 804-293-0550 and maybe you can be on our podcast. This has been a Studio 77 production. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow the Real Estate and Bourbon podcast.